One of the things I've been talking to a lot of women about is permission to feel our emotions. We've been indoctrinated with this idea that the rational mind is to guide us, and emotions are something to be suppressed. Unless, of course, they're joy, or if you're a man, anger. But if you're a woman, don't be sad, don't be angry, for sure. Don't feel rage, don't be frustrated, and just stay on track, stay focused. This is a bunch of garbage if you really want to operate in integrity and authenticity as someone who identifies in the feminine. And this is also true for someone who is masculine but has feelings, which we all know we all have feelings, right? Feelings come up as an indicator. And I really believe that there's one of two things that are being indicated. Either one, something is happening in this moment that is touching a deep wound that needs healing, or two, something is happening that is totally out of alignment with your desires, standards, needs for functioning in life, thriving in life the way that you desire. And so in this conversation, I want to talk about that first situation where something is happening out in the world and it is really touching a deep wound. This could mean you're actually going through a loss right now, a death, a breakup. It could mean that something is happening in your life. You're in a relationship with someone, and the way that you're interacting, they keep touching wounds inside of you that are more from the past, right? Abandonment issues. Hello, I definitely struggle in that area. You feel that that person is betraying you, not being what, you need them to be in your life. And it's really about, there's old wounds being touched and touched and touched, and this is coming up for you to heal. So in either of those scenarios where you're going through an actual painful situation or you're in a situation that's triggering old wounds, what so many people are afraid to do because of the conditioning we've been given, this isn't wrong that you think this way, it's just not working. The conditioning is that suppress those feelings, oh gosh, that loss was 30 years ago, get over it. Aren't you done grieving yet? Aren't you over that ex-boyfriend? Well, in the feminine, we work in cycles. My biggest loss in my life was the loss of my mother. My mother died 30 years ago, and I still have moments of deep pain around the actual loss of her and the impact that it's had on my life and other relationships, right? I could be in a relationship with a person and feel that they're abandoning me, betraying me, leaving me. Whether that's true or not, it's a perception based on old wounding that I struggle with. And inside the feminine, this is not something to be ashamed of, as we've been taught, like get over it, don't feel that. What is needed to fully thrive and be fully alive and present to how our emotions really guide us in our GPS requires that we feel these emotions, that we go through the wounding and the loss that has existed. And one of the reasons I'm inspired to talk about this today is because a woman that I see as a mentor and a shaman and just way shower for us is teaching about this right now regularly through her Instagram feed. You may already know her if you're particularly from Chicago, although she's known nationally. She's had a television show on the OWN network, and she's a renowned sex therapist in the world, teaching us all about our opening ourselves in our lives. And she is presently going through a really profound loss. I'm talking about Dr. Laura Berman. Dr. Berman, and I feel choked up, her son just passed away, her teenage son just passed away of a drug overdose at home during COVID. And I cannot even express how courageous this woman is for publicly sharing her processing of this grief. And I've been following her closely and watching what she's doing, because she's teaching us about the importance of letting our feelings move to heal wounds. And she's someone who's presently going through this. But I can say, as an observer and someone who admires her and knows her light, I've had the chance to be connected with her in her time in Chicago and sit with her and just know her. And I read her last book, Quantum Love. Like, she really is about love and healing and truth, and she's just so wise. As someone who's gone through great loss, although not presently right now, I still find myself needing to grieve old pains and wounds. Over the spring solstice, I did a healing ritual to complete a couple relationships in my life that ended, but there wasn't like a beautiful completion between myself and the other person. I needed to create that completion for myself by feeling feelings, by creating a ritual. And as I said, the loss of my mother is a continuing loss that I experience in my life. And so as I'm watching her practice grief and talk about why somatically this is so important to move these feelings through our body, and her literally showing the rituals, I feel that each time I'm receiving guidance and healing about how to do it. And I wanted to talk about her today because I speak to so many women. We don't know how to do this. Unless you've been working in therapy with someone for a while, we don't know how to process grief. We don't know how to work through our pain. And she is someone who is literally living it and showing it to us with a very generous and courageous heart. And so I wanted you all to know about her if you are curious to open yourself to the grief process. And I'll complete this with a story. As I mentioned, my mother was the biggest loss that I have ever experienced. I was 13 years old when she died, and she was 39, very young to pass away with, teenage children. And about 10 years ago, I realized I had never really grieved that loss, and so I worked with a therapist for several years. And inside that healing journey, I did my own healing ritual because I was ready. I had done a lot of the grieving to release and on my own terms come to terms with her passing away when she did, which I had always thought was wrong and bad, and she should have lived longer. But I got to a completion point with that. And what I remember about that time was good friends of mine who didn't know what I had done, didn't know about this ritual. I really had only shared it with one of my friends who was a part of it with me. People were saying things to me like, wow, Gina, like, you just seem so much happier. Like, wow, you just like lit up from the inside. You're so different. And that's what grieving properly allows. So many of us are dead inside in certain ways because we haven't let our grief flow through us. Like, the death of something is still living inside because we haven't let it work its course, flow out. We haven't transmuted that pain. And so I leave you with just that knowing that this work is transformative and helps to truly live the life that is yours to live. People ask me all the time, Gina, how do you, have this career that you love and have beautiful friendships and relationships and healing with your family and things that, so many people wish they had? Well, this is one of the big ones: grieving, feeling emotions, and processing wounds. So I hope that this has been insightful for you, and that if you're curious about learning more, follow Dr. Laura Berman and let her show you the way.